Amanda Ling is the Chief Executive Officer at the Joondalup Health Campus. Amanda has a wealth of knowledge and experience gained from a very diverse background in public and private health. Her previous roles, include clinical lead for the Australian Border Force, Director of Office and Safety and Quality of the WA Health Department, and Executive Director Sir Charles Gardner Hospital. Amanda also held positions of the National Director of Clinical Services for main hospitals and other roles in Victoria, including Maroondah Hospital, the Royal Children's Hospital, encompassing the responsibility for acute, subacute and community services, both hospital and networks. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Amanda Ling. Our next panel member is Professor Simon Ridings, Deputy Vice-Chancellor International at Edith Cowan University. He joined Edith Cowan University as Deputy Vice-Chancellor International in 2015. At this time, ECU underwent a significant organisational restructure and introduced its World Ready University Strategic Plan. Professor Ridings joined ECU from a career in academic leadership and university business development and is a nationally and internationally recognised leader in the higher education sector. Before becoming Deputy Vice-Chancellor at ECU, he held Deputy Vice-Chancellor roles at Curtin University and the University of Canberra, and he holds a PhD from the University of Queensland. Ladies and gentlemen, Professor Simon Ridings. And last but no means least, I invite Evan Hall, the Chief Executive of Tourism Western Australia. Evan is an economist with an extensive experience in federal and state advocacy, a recognised tourism leader. Evan joined Tourism Council WA in May 2011, following 5 years at the Tourism and Transport Forum as National Policy Director. Prior to that, he was involved with the Community and Public Sector Union, directing federal advocacy campaigns on immigration, customs and quarantine issues. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Evan. Ladies and gentlemen, some of you have submitted questions as part of the registration process, and we will endeavour to deal with some of those this morning. The first question I have is for the Minister. What are some of the initiatives and innovations that have come about in COVID-19 period in your portfolio?
Which one? Which portfolio?
The tourism.
With respect to tourism, obviously the big thing that we had to do by necessity was switch our focus from normally Tourism WA, the agency, focuses on international and interstate visitor numbers, and so in 2018 we had the biggest numbers of out-of-state visitors in history. It was exceeded in 2019 and we were on track to exceed that again in 2020. We had to shift all of their effort towards intrastate, so Western Australians holidaying at home. That has been incredibly effective, and we're seeing Western Australians holidaying in their backyard like never before. We're still confronting really serious challenges with the big city hotels in the middle of the city, because 85% of their revenue is generated by interstate visitor, normal business travel. So what we have, I can say, and we have already had and have been rolling over, is in-market buy on the eastern seaboard to attract leisure travellers back, but also business travellers. And we're working, Gareth and Kevin are here from Business Events Perth. We're working with Tourism Council, the AHA, Business Events Perth, and Tourism WA obviously leading that effort to ensure that we are a very attractive destination for what will be an incredibly competitive business traveller market once we become a controlled border rather than a closed border. But we've switched focus. We'll pivot back towards what is available as it becomes available. We're ready for international when we can.
Thank you. Amanda, what are the flow-on effects of the expansion of the health campus, for instance, working holiday professionals, and some of the partnerships you developed during the COVID-19 period?
Well, we do have, it's a $250-60 million expansion, so there's a significant number of beds. So the first thing is the jobs impact. We have to staff this area. So out of the 1,000 that's been predicted. I think I'm going to take out somewhere about 20-25% of that number, and I'm really proud of that. That's a great number. How do I staff them? The young doctors, they're fantastic. They're Irish. They come here for an experience. They come here to have fun. They want the marina. They want the beach. They want the pubs. They love the pubs up here. And they intend to spend every dollar I pay them, they will leave in Western Australia. The rest they'll leave in Bali on the way home. So that's okay. Help the Indonesians.
Bali.
No, Bali. But they will leave it somewhere. But 80% of their salary will stay locally. So we also have the visiting visa nurses, I call them. They come on their travel. They come for 6 months, so they're another group. I've really struggled without those staff. The Irish are coming back. They've discovered Ireland is still cold, wet, and full of COVID. So they're coming back. So that's great. Just in terms of some of the challenges through COVID, we've had a few things that we've been able to do. But the one we're really proud of, and Questa here as well, we looked at maternity. Maternity patients were very, very challenged. Private maternity were very challenged about coming to a hospital that was full of COVID. So we did an arrangement with Quest where they would get a short stay at Quest for the uncomplicated ones. So it's not been a large number, but it's been such a superb relationship with the Quest people. So thank you very much. And we intend to continue that going forward. It was a bit of a trial. The feedback we got was fantastic. So I think we as a community need to work together, that we kind of share our business together and share what we can do. So that's been a great program for us.
Thank you very much, Amanda. Simon, thinking of the international education and the visitor economy, what role do you think business can play in attracting and connect students to the Joondalup region?
I think from the outset, some of the remarks Jason made about Destination Joondalup spoke to exactly those things that we focus on in education as well. So when Destination Joondalup was looking at things like how do you encourage people to stay longer, choose to return and invest thereafter, it's not a coincidence that for Study Perth, the tagline for WA and Perth and of course Joondalup is live, learn and launch. So when talking to international students, one of the things I sometimes reflect upon is that we sometimes still point out that Joondalup is an easy commute, when we should say that Joondalup is a wonderful place to live if you're a young person. Most international students who do come to Australia, they're looking to have a great education, and Joondalup and ECU work very closely on some of ECU's premier programs. But at the same time, we always say to students that if you come and do the right program, you can have a wonderful career in this part of the world. So in looking at what business and government and universities do together, it's the live and the learn and the launch. It's live in Joondalup, don't commute to Joondalup, participate in those premier programs that we offer, but have a career here afterwards.
Thanks, Tom. Evan, what role do you think visitor servicing can have in growing the visitor economy?
Yeah, visitor servicing is absolutely critical. There's often a tendency in tourism to focus on the marketing, which is a critical component, but it is primarily the role of federal, state and local governments to get involved in destination marketing. But the long-term success of any area depends on the offering from that area, and that 9 times out of 10 comes down to what tourism businesses are offering guests, be they leisure businesses, hospitality, so on and so forth. So a big part of it is the visitor service, and it's certainly, I think, a critical issue for Joondalup is that there is the destination lacks a point of arrival. We have some great attractions that are quite dispersed, but really there's no point of arrival, no natural stop between, say, Perth and Cervantes. And one of the things you should certainly be looking at is some sort of visitor servicing centre. It just gives that point of arrival. Where am I? How do I know I'm in Joondalup? As someone who's never been here before, where it is that I'm going, where do I turn up? Now, it's easy in destinations like Sydney. You turn up, you see the Harbour Bridge, I'm here. You know the destination, but where do I land? Where do I come in? So certainly I think a hub of some form we would certainly recommend established as an accredited visitor centre that can provide that service to visitors so that they know they've arrived. The second part of that is to upsell the destination. There's a lot of marketing effort that goes into getting people here, be it Study Perth bringing in the students or Destination Perth bringing in the leisure visitor. But once they're here, you have a marvellous opportunity. The most effective marketing at all is to upsell to the destination, to people who are already here. And that's the critical role of a visitor centre or a visitor servicing. And it's the same as if you go into a shop to buy a shirt and you walk out with a suit. You ever had that experience? It's because you've had an interaction with a human being who knows and loves the area, who's going to tell the story of the destination to that visitor. So having that, that front face, that point of arrival, and the ability to have that conversation one-on-one with the visitor who's already made the decision to be here, you can have that conversation, and after that they will stay longer and they will spend more. And we've got good research to back that up. Tourism WA did an assessment of visitor centres a couple of years ago, and the average person who turned up to a visitor centre spent, I think it was $104 more in the destination than those who didn't, because they had that upsell experience, and that's the key to visitor servicing.
That's a number I like. You know, everyone's going to spend $104 more. You know, there's a really good analytic there. We've got a Slido question. Given many of Western Australians' behaviour is relatively unchanged, no masks, social distancing, are we ready for transmission? I'll pose it along the line, but I'll start with you, Minister.
Oh yeah, we absolutely. Otherwise, are you talking about in terms of the shift from a closed border to a controlled border? Is that the context?
I would imagine that's the
so.
context.
Yes. Otherwise, so the health advice from the Chief Health Officer accommodates the level of threat in other states, and would not have changed and would not have enabled us moving to a controlled border had he not been satisfied that we're ready. So that's the first observation. But I can tell you, in terms of, and I'm sure you'd be able to confirm this, in terms of investment in, we spent a lot of money and a lot of effort and a lot of work by people in the health system to ensure that we were ready in the event that there was widespread community transmission some months ago. So that all of that effort has resulted in outcomes that are still there. We've also, we've accrued significant additional capacity in terms of ICU beds and ventilators and PPE. There is in WA, we have enough of a stockpile to give every single person a mask where it required, for instance. But all of the measures that were undertaken in those early days have resulted in us being prepared. The other thing to observe is that on the eastern seaboard, there's been really great effort. Victoria had another zero today, so that's 6 days in a row of no community transmission. Looking like New South Wales might be the worst state in the country, but they are deemed still low risk of transmission or low risk of threat for us. All of the other states and territories are deemed very low risk. So I think, yes, we are. I sit on the State Disaster Council, confirmed that we wouldn't have moved towards the controlled border had we not been convinced of that.
Amanda, this, I know from our conversation the other day, is an area that has special interest for you.
Yes, it does. I'll say one thing about the West Australian Health Department and Minister Roger Cook. I think the leadership with the pandemic response in WA has been probably the best I've seen, and certainly I believe that we've probably been better than most of the other states. And it's because we in West Australia are able to run as a single system. There's a collaboration and a cohesion here that doesn't exist anywhere else. And I've worked in Victorian Health Department. I think, I've got to say they're fantastic, and Dan Andrews is amazing, but WA's better. And so it was a very, very well-organised, well-orchestrated response through the public system and the private system. Now, I sit on both sides, and so I've seen the public response and the private response. We will function as one system going ahead. We are well-equipped to manage an outbreak. Even a significant outbreak, we are still well-equipped. And so really what we need to be saying to our communities is you need to get on with your life. We can manage, but please, please do your part. Now, Roger assures me that Western Australians are compliant. Now, that is, if you look at the traffic infringements, that is clearly not the case. But I think that when we say to people in Western Australia, you do need to wear masks, and I think that we will often need to wear masks, and that we need to manage social distancing, I'm pretty confident that we'll be reasonably compliant, and in the areas where we get outbreaks, which we will, and I think we need to be just really calm about it, we can respond really, really appropriately in this state. And I think that we'll sail through this if we all stick the course. We only need someone silly to do something silly and break the chain, and then we're struggling. But if everyone does what they've always done, we'll be fine.
If someone does, we'll send them back to the state from where they came.
Look, the biggest threat is international arrivals via air or sea. That's the real threat in terms of actual analysis of numbers and likelihood of encounters with someone with COVID. Not the interstate travellers, but it is still out there, and we should assume that at some point there'll be community transmission. Yeah.
Evan, can I just take to just looking ahead, or part what happened during COVID and looking ahead, can you share an example of some collaboration that you saw that boosted the resilience of business and how you see that playing out going forward?
Yeah, I think if I just take an example, a lot of businesses have changed a lot of what they do during the COVID period, and it's sort of accelerated a pathway that business has been on. What we've really moved into is managing the nature of tourism is that it's a forward business, it's a futures market. Tourism is planned, people plan their journeys, and for us, fundamentally, it's all about bookings and reservations and being able to get our offering out to the rest of the world, either through marketing campaigns or through online distribution. So what we've seen is businesses really move into that system rapidly, and certainly it's been a way to manage COVID. Absolutely, we have a record of attendance that we automatically get if you've got a booking before you get there. You know what demand you're going to get before the booking's going to get there. We're about to go through a massive labour problem. It's there in the regions at the moment. We're going to have it in Perth as well. And one of the ways that businesses respond is by moving from, the restaurant moves from walk-ins to bookings in advance. So we're seeing attractions moving into bookings in advance, a move away from walk-in trade to bookings. And that gives you the information to manage your inventory, to manage your staffing, and to basically to manage the guest as well. So in terms of collaboration, one of the best systems that we have is when we can take businesses collectively through that journey at a destination level. And that's something that we certainly focus on at Tourism Council. When businesses want to step up into tourism markets, they basically need to be instantly bookable, to have their online distribution systems and to work through trade partners. But we find it works best when we take a cohort of businesses through. So we've got a program called Destination Boost, which we basically collect the best businesses in town, and you move them all together such that you can create an itinerary of at least an overnight stay. I mean, this is a day trip market, I've got to tell you. What you need is an overnight stay. That's when you start to get the real value. So you need 2 days worth of activities and accommodation to stay in. When you can package all that up together where it's all bookable, and then it can go to market through Tourism WA, through Destination Perth, be connected with visiting friends and relatives for international students, for example. So working on that together, that starts with training. In fact, we've got some training on here in Joondalup on the 26th of November. But fundamentally, it works best when not just doing it as individual businesses, but when you can get a cohort together in the town, and suddenly you've got an itinerary that you can really sell.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I now need to bring this session to a close. Could we have a round of applause, please, for the Honourable Minister and our panel? Thank you.